These things come from Democrats, and this is why African Americans in particular should not listen to them. I am Mark Stewart. I am a Democrat, but the leaders of the Democrat Party in this century are nothing like what we signed up for. Okay, so the leaders, many of whom would like to see their PhD candidates, mostly elite whites, getting reimbursed for their student loans and not have to pay them off. And from these PhDs, we get the exhortation, defund the police. Nothing could be more stupid. And yet, they did want us to take that seriously. What is the result? Fewer cops, more crime. More crime in areas where people are more vulnerable. Domestic violence increases when there's fewer cops to stop the thugs. Robberies increase. Murders increase. Now, the Tony white liberals with their own security or who live in very safe neighborhoods aren't that concerned. But how condescending is it to have other neighborhoods where lives do matter and they don't give a crap? Speaking of condescension, the whites who encouraged African Americans to riot following George Floyd's murder and other excuses that they had later in 2020 and 2021, do you think any of them were telling their own children and grandchildren, oh, go riot in the streets? You didn't see Chuck Schumer's kids or grandkids doing that. Nancy Pelosi has grandchildren. She wasn't encouraging them to do the same thing that she thought, oh, let's let the minorities riot. She has a different standard, and it's a condescending standard, not worth listening to. If these elites really cared about Black lives and were not using incidents as a political tool, they would nearly extinguish the murders of Black people in Chicago, which far outnumber the occasional death at the hands of a white police officer. Okay? George Floyd, not the most upstanding of guys, suffered a bad death at the hands of maybe a racist, certainly a horribly trained police officer who should be in jail. But meanwhile, in the same time that it took to try and convict him, over 80 young African Americans were killed in our cities. If Black lives matter to those people, if they really matter, you enforce laws. You don't call for defunding the police. You jail even juveniles who are taking up weaponry, using it, whether it results in death or not. It is a threat. It is mayhem. And put those juveniles in jail for at least some time. And it should be hard time with some hardened criminals who might just scare them straight. Don't encourage that kind of rioting. And certainly when it happens, put them in jail like everyone is supposed to be put when they are out of line. You excuse people who are out of line for political reasons. Of course, you're not excusing your own kids and grandkids. You are a condescending crap. I'm Mark Stewart. Please pay attention to where this exhortation is coming from. And please recognize it is for political purposes and feel-good purposes and not necessarily for your lives' enhancement. Thanks for listening here.